So we've got a pretty big Nintendo Switch games and system update when it comes to how Nintendo's performance is and how that's going to shape the future of what they're going to do with the Nintendo Switch 2 and what games are going to be coming based off of their performance. But before we get into that, what's good everyone, OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my Nintendo Switch RPG videos, live streams, and more first. And let's go ahead and jump right into the results here because there are a number of big things that have implications when it comes to probably what Nintendo's going to be doing in the future and how the Nintendo Switch is going to be shaking out. Now, I've stated this before many times that I feel that Nintendo will not be ditching the Nintendo Switch 1 even when the Nintendo Switch 2 is revealed and it drops and games are starting to come out, and I think that these numbers here are more and more in line with that thought process. Now, Nintendo has officially sold 2.62 million units in the past quarter. That is down from the 2.93 million units they shipped in the same time last year, but up from the 2.1 million units they shipped in the previous quarter before this one. The Nintendo Switch sales are officially over 146 million at 146.04 million at this point. This is the first time, just like we've seen for quite a while now, that any system has even reached this point when it comes to sales. There's been only two other systems, the PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo DS. Everything else is pretty far behind when it comes to these three systems, including the Nintendo Switch here. So very good overall. And of course, I thought it was going to be a little bit less than that. I thought it was going to be about 145 million, right underneath 146, but it actually did a little bit better than my prediction at that, and it did 146 million units plus. So definitely getting towards the 150 million mark, which would be the first time in a decade plus that any system has hit that mark, and only the third time ever. So yeah, very big thing there. Now let's break down the numbers here. Shout outs to my man Pierre, who's breaking down a lot of this stuff on Twitter. It seems like the Nintendo Switch base system shipped 730,000 units, representing 28% of the quarter shipment. The Nintendo Switch OLED shipped 1.25 million units, which is 48% of these shipments. And then Nintendo Switch Lite shipped 640,000 units, which is 24%. Now moving on to some stuff when it comes to the games, because this really kind of fuels Nintendo and lets them do different things when it comes to what they want to do with their franchises and IPs. If games don't sell, we don't get the excellence that we normally get. So this is probably, along with the system sales, one of the most important things when it comes to how Nintendo's business goes forward for the fans, at least. Now, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, that debuted with 2.58 million units sold / shipped in 5 days. That is pretty good because it came out at the very end of September and it almost hit that 3 million mark. It was going towards that, and I'm guessing at this point, since the sales are a bit behind, it's not all the way up to right now, that it's well past 3 million units as the game continues to be a top seller in the Japanese eShops, in the UK, in the US, MPD. Overall, it's been doing pretty good. So I do feel that Echoes of Wisdom is going to have a very long life and could potentially hit what we saw with Link's Awakening, or maybe even more, because I think it did a little bit better than Link's Awakening. That one took a while before it hit like 4 or 5 million. Now it's over 7 million at this point, but that game came out back in 2019. So I think Echoes of Wisdom is going to have a little bit of a high-end / cult status overall, especially if they can update it a bit for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, another game that I'm very excited about did well, and that is Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. That's over 1.94 million units sold. It sold an additional 180,000 units in the past 3 months, which that has officially exceeded the lifetime sales of the GameCube original at 1.91 million units. And that's where really you look at install base. Install base is the main factor here to where you're able to sell a lot more in such a small amount of time. This game came out back in May. GameCube's obviously decades old, and it took the whole generation, plus the game being a player's choice at $20 for it to hit that 1.91 million, whereas the Nintendo Switch, it just came out this year. It's only been a few months. There's been no real massive price drops like that, and it's already passed it up. So that's the Nintendo Switch install base and the popularity. And of course, people wanting to play a great GameCube classic remastered on the system anywhere that they want. Now, another Mario game that we need to talk about is Luigi's Mansion 2. That shipped another 380,000 units. It's over 1.57 million units total. I did not expect it to ship nearly 400,000 units in this past quarter. That's actually pretty good overall for the type of game that it is. But I would say this, Luigi's Mansion has gotten more and more popular with each entry over the last decade or so. It started out with Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. That was seen as like a little side thing. Then Luigi's Mansion 2 blew up, and then Luigi's Mansion 3 exploded overall. So I do think that there are a number of people who never got a chance to play Luigi's Mansion 2, that played Luigi's Mansion 3, or maybe even played the first one, and they're coming back to this one right here on the Nintendo Switch. So I do see Luigi's Mansion continuing to do better and better. Obviously a good Halloween game, good game for kids, families, all of that. So expect Luigi's Mansion 2 to continue to sell well, and for it to be over 2 million units after the holiday here. Now, the craziest thing, and I guess it's not crazy, but the thing that just continues to churn out the machine, it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That shipped another 1.37 million copies for the last quarter. The sales are over 64.27 million. This is by far the best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch by multiple tens of millions of units, and Nintendo could have never expected Mario Kart 8 to do this well. They probably thought that the game would do maybe double, maybe triple what the Wii U version did at 8 million units plus, so maybe it sold like 20 something million. I don't think they expected 60 million in their wildest dreams. So yeah, that's what got us all the stuff in terms of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe lasting a decade plus, but I do feel that all of this will pay off eventually for us Mario Kart fans, as Nintendo will make a brand new Mario Kart game for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, if you combine the Wii U version of the game, the title overall exceeds 72.73 million units worldwide. It's obviously the best seller for the franchise, and when it's all said and done, this could be a 100 million seller for Nintendo, which is just crazy at this point. I think it could at some point, man. They put this thing on the eShop, or the next one, people just keep on downloading it and playing it. I don't know. I think there's going to be some type of attachment that certain kids have to this as their childhood or something like that growing up, and they're never going to stop buying this game. People are just going to keep on buying it. Even when the next one comes out, people are just going to keep on buying it. Kind of like how what we're going to talk about with Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom, how they're selling in tandem. So let's talk about that. Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom is now officially over 21 million units. I didn't know if it might hit there or not based off of the previous numbers. I thought maybe it could get that 200,000 units plus or so, but I thought maybe it'd fall a little bit short, but it was able to get that, adding 240,000 units in the past quarter. Second best seller in the franchise, only to the one and only Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. More than 42% of Zelda games were sold on the Nintendo Switch, which is just an incredible number considering the Legend of Zelda franchise is like nearly 40 years old or something like that. Yet almost half, going quite towards half, are sold on just one platform in the past 6-7 years. So that's pretty crazy. Now, let's go over the overall top 10 sellers on the Nintendo Switch. If you're looking at it, it's pretty much the same when it comes from 1 to 10. There was no new entries. They all sold a number of 100,000 units more to bump it up a bit. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in at number 1, Animal Crossing New Horizons in at number 2, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate passes 35 million at number 3, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Pokemon Sword and Shield, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, like I talked about, crossing that 21 million mark. Super Mario Party should cross 21 million units next quarter as well, and New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at 17.77 million. We also have a little bit of an update on Nintendo Switch Sports. That is now sold 14.37 million. I fully expect there to be Nintendo Switch Sports 2 for the next Nintendo Switch successor. I'm thinking they're going to get that game ready and just call it Nintendo Switch Sports 2 or Nintendo Switch 2 Sports or something like that. You sell 14 million units in this type of game in an area that Nintendo felt they probably couldn't reach back again. And yes, they didn't reach the heights of Wii Sports Resort or Wii Sports, but this is still really good considering how people feel about this game when it comes to the gamers out there. We went over Echoes of Wisdom, very good. Paper Mario, very good. Luigi's Mansion. So Nintendo has more than 1.5 1.3 billion units of software sold for the Nintendo Switch system. So when it comes back to everything that's going on here, it looks like Nintendo did revise down their forecast from about 13.5 million to 12.5 million, so about 1 million less. So they're not expecting to sell at the pace that they thought they were going to sell at, probably with The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and that Nintendo Switch Lite. That probably didn't do as well as they thought, so they revised that down. They don't really have many other big system sellers for the holiday after there's Jamboree. I know that's going to be something that's going to help out quite a bit. And there's also Mario and Luigi Brothership, probably not as much. And then next year they've got Donkey Kong and then they got Xenoblade Chronicles X. But when it comes for the quarter, which is going to be the last 3 months of the year heading into next year, and they have their next financial meeting, I don't think there's anything outside of Jamboree that's going to be a huge push. And of course, the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe bundles. Now, I do expect Nintendo to sell around 4 to 5 million units for this quarter, so they're probably going to do okay, and they'll hit the 150 million mark. But we'll see if they actually hit their forecast by next year. But at some point, Nintendo's going to have to actually talk about what the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be. Investors, when it comes to the stock price and all that, going down a bit because they're seeing that the momentum is flat overall. Nintendo's essentially just continuing to pound home what they've done. They're selling at the pace that they're selling. When it comes to the games, those are selling at the pace that they're selling, but there's nothing that's going to be an igniter for the business until the Nintendo Switch 2 is revealed, until the Nintendo Switch 2 games are shown off, and Nintendo has held off on doing that. Now, I do feel that now that Mario and Luigi Brothership is coming out this week, and there really isn't anything till January, this is a prime opportunity for Nintendo to maybe say something on that, but we're going to have to wait and see. I do feel that it could just wait till next year. There are people that feel that it's going to be next year. So overall, if you're looking at it, we could have to wait. When it comes to Nintendo Switch 2 reveal, and I think that Nintendo would probably ramp things up very quickly. We know that they're already pretty much getting things in production or getting ready for that. So it's probably going to launch in the first half of 2025 if all of that is correct. Maybe the second half, but if it's launching second half, then they don't really have to announce anything this year and then get everything set up for next year. But if it's launching in the first half of next year, then we absolutely need to hear something this year or very early next year. They've got Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition coming out in March. They've got Donkey Kong coming out in January. They've got Pokemon Legends ZA at some point in 2025 and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond some point in 2025. But outside of that, there isn't really a ton of other things. And we've heard information that Nintendo is courting some third-party developers to help fill in the gaps until their next system is ready, because all of their big developers are working on Nintendo Switch 2 stuff and getting that ready. So there could also be a little bit of a holdup in that, but I do feel that Nintendo's just essentially waiting for the right time period. They're still trying to drive home the business of Nintendo Switch, and I know that's annoying for people, but essentially they're still trying to do that. They're still trying to sell the games that are coming out at this point. They're still trying to sell Donkey Kong next year. They're going to try to sell, obviously, Mario and Luigi Brothership, first brand new entry in nearly a decade. So they're trying to sell all this stuff. Mario Party Jamboree, that's the sequel to a 20 million seller overall, almost 21 million seller. So they're trying to sell that along with their other games, legacy titles for people to pick up. They've got a plethora of different models out there with the Nintendo Switch Lite and the Switch OLED and the Switch V2. So there's a lot of different options. So they're just trying to get through that, but we're going to have to just wait and see overall. I'm looking forward to them finally revealing this thing, so the watch, when it comes to the reveal watch, can stop. I talked about that on a live stream recently, like, hey, look, we're on reveal watch at this point. Now that they have their investor meeting, I think that they see their quarter, their results. They obviously have revised down. They're going to get their next game out. So maybe something's going to happen. But early next year seems to be like it could be a bet overall. But what do you guys think? You guys think that Nintendo is going to announce something some point this year? I think that they could kind of be like both. They could just say, hey guys, I know you want to hear about Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to have something for you probably like in January. So they could announcement of an announcement. They can pull the old Atlas, the announcement of the announcement, where they announce when they're going to announce something. And I think that could be interesting too. But when they do finally announce the Nintendo Switch 2 and everything, I think it'd have to be straight into the presentation, right? I think that, yeah, you could do a trailer and that would be great, but I think that you really need to put out the information, especially if you're going to launch it in that first half of the year. So Nintendo's getting everything set up and getting everything ready for that. People are losing their patience, but I think overall everyone's okay. People are playing their games, they're having fun, they're playing whatever they want to play. There's still big games coming out on all the different platforms. If you have multiple platforms and people that have Nintendo Switch, they're playing Jamboree, they're playing Legend of Zelda, they're going to be playing Mario and Luigi Brothership. So there's plenty of titles to play to get us through to when Nintendo finally gets the reveal here overall. But their games games are selling pretty good. System's doing okay for it being 7th, 8th year on the market, but obviously they're going to need something new in order to inject that life into the company and the platform. So I do think that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be announced somewhat soon. Within the next 2 to 3 months, I think it will be announced, which might seem like a far time away when it comes to some people, but I'm guessing that there will be something either this month or January. It really has to be those two. I don't think they're going to say anything in December. So if they don't announce something this month, I think it'll be January. So we're just gonna have to wait on that one. But what do you guys think when it comes to the numbers here with the Nintendo Switch and with the games? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this one here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch and RPG videos first. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.